Okay. Hola, Argentina. Hello, world. Good morning, everybody. It's been almost a week for most of us here at DevConnect. I hope you've had a good experience. I've noticed there's actually lots of people here on DevConnect coming that are not in the industry, which is amazing. It seems like we are bridging the gap more and more as an industry with general consumers. Today's main topic is going to be about the agents. How we, in this world, where everything is becoming more and more digitalized, more and more fast, how we can bring credibility to it on-chain, right? We're going to be kicking off today's conference with great panelists who worked on ERC-8004. We're going to be having Sumeet Chougule from Nethermind, Quintus Kilbourn from Flashbots, Marco De Rossi from Metamask, and Davide Crapis from Ethereum Foundation. Where Marco and Davide, they're both actually the makers of ERC-8004. So this is going to be a very good panel to listen to. So let's please give them an applause and start soon.
Yes, let's sit following the order.
Yeah, sounds good. Maybe it would be good if you sit like... Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining that early, but I think it's worth it. We have like a very nice and interesting panel here. Yeah, my name is Simon, and I think the easiest thing to start is with a round of introduction, like who are you, what do you do, and also what do you think is the agentic economy in 2 years from now? Maybe we start with Marco.
I'm Marco, I lead AI at Metamask, and I'm currently focused on ERC-8004, a protocol that we recently created with many builders and organizations to have an open standard controlled by anybody, leveraging blockchain technologies to enable agents to interact among each other, find each other, trust each other. And in 2 years, that's just, I think, an enabling primitive. We are very early. We need better models. And what I think is interesting is that it's not just about better models in the traditional sense of machine learning. They need to learn from interacting with other agents, and that's why the rails that we're building are very useful, so that agents can start interacting with each other and becoming better with what's called, for example, reinforcement learning.
Okay, nice. Thanks so much. Sumeet?
Hi, everyone. I am Sumeet. I'm building Offchain. So Offchain is an accountability protocol for the agentic economy. So we are tackling what will enable agents to be as autonomous as possible. So we have like trust primitives, like 804 is one of that. We are building on top of that. And then X402, of course, like enables agents to have more flexibility in terms of like payments and all that. And then with our accountability protocol, we are incentivizing agents to show agency. We call it proof of agency. So with this, we hope like in 2 years, we will have much more better agents, which will be showing agency and getting us to this autonomous future.
Okay, thanks so much. And Davide?
Hi, I'm Davide. I lead AI at the Ethereum Foundation. I'm also co-author of ERC-8004. And we also work on the X402 extension to the agent-to-agent protocol. So we are really focused on like creating the core infrastructure for AI coordination on Ethereum. Yeah, I think the agentic economy on Ethereum in 2 years, like what I would like to see is like a massive diversity of like agents, but also like tools and like services that these agents can use. They're all kind of like tapping into Ethereum for like payment, decentralized trust. And I think that's where we can really build some applications that cannot be built if you don't have like this massive ecosystem of like different services. So I'm excited about that.
Okay.
I'm Quintus. Is it on? I'm Quintus. I'm from Flashbots. I'm a researcher there. In some sense, you could say I've been working on the agentic economy, just with very dumb agents for quite some time now. And maybe 18 months ago, sort of realized that TE is a very important part of the internet to come, and the trust model is very bad. And so I've spent most of my time working on sort of developing better, more secure hardware to support all the TE use cases I'm sure we'll talk about today. And that's somewhat outside of Flashbots. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for the introduction. So one question I have for you, Marco, is basically with ERC-8004, so it's an agent registry, but also a reputation system, right? Okay. So when reading through the spec, I was wondering, like, why are these combined? You could also have them separated and say, like, there's a registry, and then in a separate ERC, it's the trust system. Why did you decide to keep it together?
So technically, in the smart contracts, we are two different smart contracts. We are in the same ERC because standards have also like a role in defining a direction for a community, if the community is excited about it. Well, technically, the relation is that the object of a reputation attestation should be an identity in the identity registry. So actually, they are connected. I think it's important, like, to keep in mind that what we are building includes different level of product market fit. So identity and payments, I don't think there is any doubt that, of course, we need them and they will work. And of course, agents need programmable money. They can't like use paper notes. It's like the blockchains are the perfect technology for agents. While for reputation, that's a different thing because we don't have like distributed reputation among humans, while we have identity and payments among humans. And here the bet, which is like to be confirmed, that I'm like super excited about it, is that since agents are better than humans in aggregating data in real time, basically AI will be the trigger for reputation and distributed reputation, but as like that with humans was like managed in a pretty medieval way, like me calling you, should I hire Bob, or is that person nice? And so reputation and validation have definitely a different level of PMF compared to identity and payments.
So do I hear that right, that you also think like that system can be used to give reputation for humans?
Well, technically, yes. I'm just saying that it's in the nature of things and evolution, and we just can't stop it because it's very efficient to have many entities that send messages and reputation signals around each other, as it's already happening when we need to, I don't know, pick a restaurant or we are a bank and deciding if we want to give a loan to somebody. My goal to avoid like dystopic futures where like a big brother-ish or centralized government basically decide what's your reputation or mine, is that all these signals are public good, and then it's left to everybody to decide how to aggregate them. And that's why I think blockchains are incredibly useful, because they provide logically centralized entry points to stuff that you can also store off-chain.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I mean, on-chain, I think we're all the same, right? Agents and humans, to a certain degree, unless we come with a Sybil detection mechanism. But speaking of the big product...
Do you remember at the beginning of the web, the meme, behind the screen, nobody knows that you are a dog? It's the same, behind the blockchain, you don't know if you're a human.
Yeah, so it's also super interesting that we see we will compete with agents. Well, I'm not afraid currently. But Davide, speaking of a big brother, I have a question that, looking through the specification, we see like one of the co-authors is from Google. And I mean, like, being in the space for a while, Google was always a little bit kind of painted as the evil, and we need to be careful. So why did that change? Like, what's happening now? How is the collaboration with Google fruitful?
Yeah, so we work with Jordan Ellis. So Jordan is like a senior engineer at Google, but he actually is a co-author of the ERC as an individual contribution. And he's been around Ethereum, but this is kind of the first concrete contribution that he makes. And yeah, I think it's quite exciting that like these people like are getting closer to our ecosystem. Like we need to expand, right? Like I think Ethereum is as valuable if it's relevant for everyone. So like as an individual contributor, like I'm very excited. The way this collaboration started is like we actually worked together before on this X402 extension of this A2A protocol, which was created by Google, but then like they gifted it to the Linux Foundation. So now he's under like neutral governance of the Linux Foundation. And so that's how we met Jordan, and then he had like, of course, worked in this space for a while technically, so that's how it started, yeah.
Okay. So would you agree on saying that we say like, whenever things are, you know, really open source, then like it doesn't matter from who it actually comes?
Yeah. I think open source is like really related to like 8004 and the community, because like, yeah, we'll talk maybe later with Quintus as well. Like to have like really sovereign AI, we need to like put AIs in TEs, and if the only AI is behind of OpenAI API, then there is no like sovereign AI. So yeah, very excited about the open source ethos in general.
Yeah, me too. Like, what brings to TEs, I have that question a bit like, I mean, I'm not an expert in that field. I'm happy that I have some on the panel now. So I'm trying to adapt myself. So when I try to use models, the ones that we have, like locally, like because you know it's the ethos. But like running an open source model locally on my MacBook Air, it's not fun. But then when I think about trust execution environments, I think what we need, or maybe I'm wrong, in order to have a trust execution environment, I think it makes the calculation even more complex in order to be trusted, right? So like these huge models that already burn a lot of resources, then running that in a trusted execution environment, doesn't it like even slow it down? So, or where is the latest of research? Who knows? Sumeet?
Maybe Sumeet or Quintus.
Yeah. And then Quintus can append.
Yeah, for sure. So there are two parts to this, like, and we call this process integrity. One is, of course, like verifiable execution of the model itself, and then verifiable execution, and of course, like secure execution for the agent. And it's going to be, of course, like extra computational burden on when we want to run it locally. But right now we are using, for example, like Eigencompute. Like they're bringing up an amazing stack, a network of TEs, whose performance like is quite impressive. So something like Eigencompute could be in a way solution for sure to run heavy workflows. Now, other part of this process integrity is like verifiable claims. So agent might claim, for example, like I'm using a specific data set and this is the best, I'm using best data API tools and stuff like that. So we need to also have that attestation of these claims. So TE is one solution, right? But then we are starting with TEs right now, but then there would be other solutions we'll be looking into, like based on ZK and then watermarking and stuff like that, which could, you know, like improve as we move forward in terms of efficiency.
Okay. I think Quintus, I heard over here that you work on hardware for TEs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I maybe just want to add on to that. I would say that in the broader space of solutions, TEs are pretty low overhead, like inherently, as they are today. There's some qualifications. Like one is that, you know, for example, currently most GPU TEs only support basically having one VM running one GPU TE. And really, ideally, you want to have one CPU VM running multiple GPU TEs. It's not so important exactly what that is, but there's just like some maturity that needs to come into the ecosystem. And if we do push for security later on, then maybe the overhead grows. But currently, the overhead from a lot of benchmarks is like a couple of percent, which is not crazy, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, so it's pretty cool. So I can run my models in trust execution environments in the cloud and can trust that, and it's not that much of overhead?
It's not that much overhead. The trust question is an interesting one, right? It depends sort of what you're comparing it against. I would say it's much better to use a TE than to run something in plain text and just trust the operator. But still, these TEs bake in some trust assumptions, right? So they don't have physical protections, so you're trusting the cloud provider. They are closed source and running on like hardware that you don't, and low-level firmware that you don't have insight into, so you're trusting Nvidia and Intel. And then there's a question of how good the security really is. We'll see as time goes by and the incentive for breaking them grows. And so what I'm working on is trying to avoid a world where everyone gets really excited about TEs. And 2 years from now, TEs are everywhere, all the agents running TEs. But what that really means is that we've just like baked Nvidia into the trust assumption of the agentic economy, you know.
Okay. Do you own any Nvidia shares?
I have some indices which probably have Nvidia in them. Yeah.
Looking at the smile, I would say yes. Seems a yes.
Okay. One interesting story when we talk about agents and also privacy, which was a big topic this week, is this idea that, I don't know about you, but like sometimes I use my Claude Code also as my therapist, which makes me also a little bit feel weird about my data, my inner feelings now shared with Anthropic and whoever else kind of reads with me. So how would it, now with 8004 trust execution environment and so on and so forth, how would like, as privacy protecting AI agent work like maybe in 2 years or 5 years? Maybe Marco, you have an idea?
Yes. Privacy is a continuum. It's not about like black or white solution. There are trade-offs. For identity, of course, I usually want to advertise what you want to do. You're open not to do that, but I see this as like a public registry without, let's say, privacy. Same is for reputation. If you want to give signals that have a value for the community, you will do that. While for everything related to validation, I think we will have like a reputation around validators. If you trust a validator, you encrypt all your stuff with the public key of a TE. The code is executing within that, and the code will be executed there.
Okay. That already works, Sumeet?
So, yeah, like we are kind of in the starting phase still, right? And then and it's great. Like different projects are exploring different solutions, and we can see in upcoming years which solution would work. So, like of course, like we can for privacy we can start having like again like secure environments on our local phones, and then our client agent, which runs locally, could be taking care of all the privacy-related issues, and then just we are basically establishing a trustless relation with our client agent on our phone, and then our client agent, again, like in a trustless way, is going to interact with one of the server agents to get whatever we want and get results for us. So we are going towards that future, and we will be exploring different solutions for sure for this.
Okay.
But I really think it's important to highlight that it's not a black or white. So for example, AWS, which is like one of the main TE provider, there are like people in the TE community that they don't even think that Nitro, which is their TE solution, is a TE. And so I like to call this like Bezos custodial. So we will have like many technology, many solution, and for different use cases we will use different things. What I care about is really like the people being aware that giving all your health data, as in your example, to in an encrypted way to a centralized player is bad. And I think that we will learn this as like the general public usually learn from like bad stories and bad episodes. That's the only, because by itself privacy has never been like a great way to get traction. So we really need, unfortunately, incidents to, I hope, to make sure that billions of people care about it as I would like to.
Okay. That brings me actually to the next point, which is, I think as a Web3 space in general, we have a little tendency to create solutions for problems that don't exist right now. But on the other hand side, to be fair, if we anticipate the problem before it exists, and we already kind of set up the rails correctly to avoid it happening, then probably it's not wrong. So maybe Davide, you can elaborate a little bit on that. Why do you think this is now the right time, and how we can collectively also as a space, like everybody here, make sure that we go in the right direction?
Yeah. So like in the AI space, there is already emerging standards, right? So like there is this MCP, the Model Context Protocol, then there was this A2A, this agent-to-agent communication framework, and these are actually merging in terms of like standard, the way like they represent like an agent or service, like allegedly, like people are talking that like they are going to establish like unique standard. And the second point is that AI is moving really fast, right? So we can already see like automation in like coding agents, automation in like research, deep research agents, and like essentially like every few months, like a new domain of automation gets unlocked. So I think it's just about the right time, right? So like if you think about like the wave of like AI on blockchains started about 2 years ago, and I feel that back then was like a bit early. And now I think the traction we've seen with 8004 is, to me, a signal that it is the right time, right? There was already a critical mass of like projects that are doing like agents or looking at AI on Ethereum, like Offchain is one of them. There is like 100 projects that are involved in 8004 ecosystem. So I feel that like the traction that this initiative had is like signaling that, okay, there is already a group and we are getting together and we are trying to create some infrastructure that it's gonna grow as like the use cases increase. Yeah, so I think this is what makes me think that it's maybe the right time. The other thing is that, like, of course, like the first use cases will be more around tooling, I think, and then like we will go into full automation.
What do you mean by about tooling?
Yeah, so like we call like ERC-8004 trustless agents, but essentially like you can register any web service, right? So like any endpoint that you have that like gives takes an input and gives a response. You can give it an identity there, and you can rate like its performance, like the quality, etc. Yeah, and in fact, if you see at the kind of the payment protocol, the X402, like the first things are mostly APIs that are wrapped around this protocol, and they allow to pay per call.
Okay. That makes sense. So actually, Quintus, I have a question for you also, like in that regard. Like when you think for on-chain agent builders, what do you think they need to put on-chain, off-chain, and what they should really run in a trust execution environment? Like where do you draw these lines?
That's I think a complicated question. It depends maybe on the use case, what should be on-chain, but I can maybe point to some of the important parts. So I think, you know, what does a system look like where you have a TEE-based agent? The user needs some way of verifying a certificate that tells them this is what's running in the TEE and this is what I'm interacting with. And that doesn't need the blockchain necessarily. Where I think the blockchain plays an important role is for these kind of like public database, like things like Davide was describing, reputation systems, or you know, if there is some entity that I'm relying on to custody my confidential data, I send my prompts to it, whatever, I send my financial history, something like that. I need to know that someone is not going to just upgrade the system and suddenly change the privacy properties of it. And so what a lot of the TEE projects have been doing is they've been doing like on-chain governance of the images. And so what this means is that we have an on-chain smart contract that governs what kind of software can run in the TEEs. Then you have to find the right balance between being able to respond to vulnerabilities quickly while also not being able to rug users by very quickly also changing what they're interacting with. And this is the same problem that rollups have as well. And then the other stuff that probably needs to go on chain as well is if you want to enforce some kind of a strong commitment, right? You want some conditional payment or something like that, you can do that in smart contracts. You can do it without smart contracts as well, but if you're relying on TEEs, the security assumptions are weaker than if you're relying on the blockchain. So probably for higher value use cases, the blockchain makes the most sense. Outside of that, we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Okay. That reminds me a little bit about that, for example, Uniswap, whenever they deploy a new contract, they put their contract to an ENS name in order to register this is the latest one, but you also see the history, what happens. So you see a similar thing happening like with the TEE environments, we basically hash the whole stack and put that stack on-chain and say like, this is the thing as of now in the version X. And so as a consumer of that stack, you know, okay, I'm interacting with that, or did it have changed?
Yeah, I think you can think of a lot of how TEEs work as just being a chain of certificates. It starts off with a certificate from like Nvidia saying, yes, we made a TE and we put this public-private key pair inside of this TE. And that is the initial certificate you start with. Now you know this, or if you trust Nvidia, now this public key is associated with this TE. And if you get a signature from that public key saying this is the software that I'm running, then you know, okay, that's the software that's running, and then you can encode a key in that, and that can sign different things. And so it's this like chain of trust that ends up evolving, and the blockchain is helpful there to make it transparent and to, like I said, control maybe updates to this chain of trust.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Does anybody have something to add here?
I can add something. So for autonomous agentic economy, we of course need something like TEs. So this is where we can run agent code itself and also AI models. And then these are like trusted hardwares, that's great. But then for an agentic economy, you also need to look into the multi-agentic workflows and multi-agentic collaboration. So you have to have communication for agents, and that cannot be on-chain. So this is like one of the essential off-chain element. On-chain, we can have commitments and basically hashes of the work packages these multiple agents are working on. So all the commitments can be done on-chain on Ethereum. And payments also, right? Like, so agents are going to do a lot of microtransactions, and this is going to bottleneck a lot of networks. And once we have like millions of agents and billions of agents running online and like giving us this autonomous future that we all are dreaming about, then it's going to be a problem on chain. So then for that also, like we are looking into like batching the microtransactions and then like submitting on Ethereum, for example. So that way we can reduce latency and then have cheaper gas prices also. Now, off-chain, okay, communication is one. Then other elements are, of course, related to the agent logic that will live in the TEs and the workflows, again, the events packages. So all these things are off-chain with the hashes on-chain. Now, again, like the question is about the trust and the value of the work. So for that, like we are setting up like our way of like verifying this. That's through doing causal audit of the whole workflow. That basically allows us to zoom into the chain of work and detect basically what caused it to what effect. So this is where we can have a fine-grained approach in terms of like detecting if there is any privacy leakage or like any data injection and how our agents performing, so that we have a better incentive mechanism so that like all of the entities stay honest as much as possible.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
If I can get back to your question on solving problems that don't exist, it's something I really care about. So I think like there are two dimensions. One is how much you're early, and the other is how much you're relevant, in a sense of meaningfully relevant. I'm not scared about being early. I'm scared about being not relevant. And a good like measure for this is how much what we are building is relevant for the wider AI community. Because the Web3 AI community is just something super, super, super small from any like KPI, number of people, investments, compared to the wider AI space. And for example, if I like to do a critique to this amazing DevConnect event in general, we are talking about a lot about AI, but it has been hard to involve the general AI people. So we're just Web3 AI people talking about Web3 AI. And the pitch of let's have inference running in these so it's privacy preserving, or like blockchain-enabled economies is not enough. It doesn't work with that space, even if I really care about this. The pitch not to be relevant, and that I see is working, is that the networks that we're creating enable a new form of intelligence, also through data sets that are used to improve AIs, and that's what is relevant globally for like the entire planet and humanity. So Web3 mechanism, open networks, is the next step to make AI better, and this is something that the general AI space definitely cares about. So that's, I think, the pitch, not to like work on problems that don't exist.
I'm curious. I mean, I think we all have our own answers, but how do you think we can do that? How do you think we can surpass the existing rails?
So, right now models are very early. Like the quality of models is ultimately what is really moving the needle. We will have better and better agents as it happened in the last 6 months, and these agents will start paying each other, and this will make evident how much using stablecoins as a global fast payment settlement is great. These agents will start to like try to find each other, and that's why 8004 is, I think, timely, because we need to put the roots of how can we have a catalog which is owned by everybody and not a GPT store. So it's really a mix of the models improving, creating demand, and these agents needing to talk each other. And and it's already happening, of course, in the labs, models will get trained with coordination dataset. They will need a dataset with unknown, unpredictable agents that you can only find in open-ended environment. If you are OpenAI and you run your agent against the other agents that you have built, the kind of dataset that you can get is not as good as open economies, which is how the world works, right? So we have grown up as human beings, becoming intelligent because we interacted like at school with like they were unpredicted interaction. And that's my thesis, that's a bet. So with models improving, we will see that having these agents playing around in a playground which is open just brings to stronger intelligence.
I think maybe there's one framing that makes what you're doing very compelling to me is to say that, look, ideally for like the good of decentralization, you end up with this economy of agents where you don't have a lot of concentration of power. And if the transaction costs here being like very, very vague, right? Security risk, actual monetary cost, complexity of interacting across agents owned by different parties is high, then people are much more likely to vertically integrate, right? Like why would they outsource their tasks and take a security risk or just get unclear results when they could just build the same system in-house and do that. And so if you guys reduce those costs enough, you're much more likely to end up with this decentralized economy. So it's not just about being early, it's about influencing the way forward.
I like the advocacy for that. We should create open rails right now, and I think that's a little bit the ethos in the space. So, and since this is DevConnect, I assume most people in the audience are developers. And so what would you say, what should we build right now? How do I get now home after DevConnect and make my hands dirty with the tech in order to push that forward collectively? Maybe Davide, you have an idea?
Yeah, maybe I'll say like there is a growing community like on AI coordination with like we've talked about in 2004, X402, and then like security as well, like TEs. I would say like number one, like get involved in this community, see what's going on, see what people are experimenting with. Many people will be here today after us speaking. If you like today's event, tomorrow we also have an 8004 specific one. It's on the main calendar. So yeah,
it's there, in the room behind us.
Yeah.
Okay, tomorrow over there, same time. Quintus, what would you see that people build also with the Flashbots tooling?
Yeah, so on the hardware side, it is hard to directly contribute for many of us because we are software people. But if you are interested in supporting in one way or another, t-tee.org is where you can find information about what we're doing. I think also just on the, my background is in more like game mechanism design and game theory. I think there's a lot of interesting open questions. On the one hand, it says, the question is, what can we do if we involve security primitives in the AI world that it wouldn't be able to do otherwise? And there's some interesting early works, like there's a paper called NDAI by Matt Stevenson. And the idea is like, look, you can make agents forget. And you can't commit to humans forgetting something. And there's lots of interesting like game theory implications of that. So that's also an interesting direction to look at. And as a MEV person, I think MEV is really important. Flashbots has always thought that, but most people really only conceptualize that within the blockchain space. But AI agents are just able to do what bots did in this like very structured crypto world out in the real world. And I think it's a problem, and we need to think of like market solutions for that. So it's just a fun thing to think about.
Yeah. Sumeet, I think Chaos Chain also has cool avenues to collaborate and build on.
Oh yeah, so like through Chaos Chain, like we have Chaos Chain SDK, which enables people to like developers to like try out building verifiable and accountable agents through our triple verified stack. Like we are continuously shipping, and then we are working on improving the developer experience, and then providing more and more tools for having verifiability and accountability through our causal auditing. And so like soon people will be able to like experiment like full-fledged autonomous economies that we call studios, which will be on testnet very soon.
Cool. And Marco, for
Just
you,
one tagline. Please build more agents and less agent platforms. That's my tagline.
I actually wanted
Because
to
we have more
quote you.
platforms but agents, so that's an issue.
I wanted to quote you on that because I really liked that on your slide yesterday. Build agents and not agent platforms. I'll build an agent soon.
Great.
And you will see. And I hope people in the audience too. And speaking about people in the audience, we have a couple of minutes for questions. So like now it's the time. On Twitter, nobody asked questions. But now maybe you came up with some questions.
Don't be shy.
Yeah, there are no bad questions. I forgot to explain how I'm 5 for this 8004, but I think we have a more elaborated one.
If you
When is the midnight for 8004?
Could you say it again?
When is the midnight for 8004?
Oh, mainnet. When is mainnet?
When is mainnet?
When mainnet?
One minute. We have different level of readiness for the different registries. We really think that we want to grow with the community. What's most important is start registering agents and having explorers so we can finally see his agents that he will build tomorrow. And so the identity registry, so we can start building also explorers will be on mainnet for sure in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, I hope 2. For reputation and validation, we're again, it's not, we are coordinating an effort, but we're really talking a lot also with the TE community to understand if we want to ship it as it is, do some improvements. So it could be in a couple of weeks as well, or maybe after.
Okay, more questions? I think.
Right, yeah, me? Yeah, cool, thanks. Thank you very much for such a great panel. I'm Leon, I'm the founder of Chougule AI. We are building the coordination layer for agentic finance. So I want to ask about the ERC-8004, a lot of things about the reputation layer. So we need a standard. So I just want to get your thought about how do you think about the standard, whether it should be a global standard or a local standard, whether it be a general standard or some vertical standard in different domain. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, maybe Marco? Yeah.
Yeah, so reputation is a multidimensional local problem, and we don't want, and it would be a very bad idea to define a way to aggregate reputation or how people should give feedback to or agents to any other agent. What we care about is making sure that these signals are public. We're totally aware that the openness of the structure, you have tag 1, tag 2, score, can lead to a lot of creativity and to this multidimensionality, which is exactly the right thing, but it can be not straightforward in understanding where to start from. That's I would say a cold start problem. And so we will continue not to mandate any specific usage, but I really expect that the first usages, as I think Davide was saying, are more API and service related. So with basic stuff like, is the endpoint reachable? What's the success rate? How much money that agent had been done since inception? And this is a way to start having reputation with something that we know very well. In parallel, we will of course have experimentation. Tomorrow we are presenting a video game, a dystopic video game with agents, playing prediction market with other agents. So we will, but I really think that maybe tag 1 will be the application space, the reputation space, and tag 2 the specific API that you want to share info about.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, this is Robert Brighton here from Practice. I have a quick question, and to Marco's point, build more agents, not platforms. I'll be curious to the panel's thoughts on where would new use cases be for agents. Ideas?
Sure. So I think it's under our eyes that the segments that are in a more advanced state are trading agents, coding agents, and gaming agents. So I think that here you can already build stuff that is usable. I think that what will come, and again, it's all related about the quality of model and how the intelligence of network make the models better. This is step 1. Step 2, I think it's really about creative agents. So I just spent this morning a couple of hours playing with creating videos, images, or I think that anybody using social media is using AI for that. We will have just autonomous agents that you assign work to, and they are hired for 1 month, and so this is pretty close. And the same is agents planning my trips. I'm really surprised that I can't see planning my vacation. So this stuff step 2 will maybe come in 6 months or 1 year. And then forward looking, the list is very wide. We will have scientist agent that I'm really excited about, health doctor agents, analysts running in these, but here I think we're more in like 2 year-ish. But by the way, I don't know. I can't predict the future.
And one more thing is like talking about being early. Like people don't think about this, but like the same structure of 8004 is actually good for embodied agents as well. So like when we have more robots, like they can use exactly the same structure and accumulate exactly the same reputation, exploit the security primitives. So yeah, maybe 3-4 years down the line, but that's also an exciting like development.
Okay, I think we can make one last question. Do we have one last question? Over there.
Very nice panel. I have a question for David. So David, I work with Kite AI. You might have heard the name. I'm the head of Kite AI, Kite Chain. So I'm the head of protocol. One thing that I wanted to speak to you about in person, but also in this larger setting is, I was part of the near intense team building solver architecture, adding multiple wallets, trying to be more inclusive about people not using Tron, sitting idle, the same with Doge, we saw the same with XRP. I think we have a huge opportunity to replicate the same intent abstraction with 8004. And that is something that we would really like to contribute towards. One, of course, we want our chain to be successful. And second, as a Web3 purist, I would also like to contribute on the research, experimentation, contribution in an open source way. So what are the different opportunities there, or how do you collaborate currently? Because I've spoken to a couple of Ethereum Foundation folks back in the day. It has gone to a certain stage, but then it always stopped after a while. So I would like to understand what is it that you have in mind for the next 3 to 6 months? What are the learnings that I could bring from my near experience of near intents, which I think is a very similar setup, and try to really make this intent abstraction, gas sponsorship, not only for Web3. I think we can really tap into the Web2 world with this new narrative of 8004. I'm very bullish on this.
Yeah. So the question is about like there's been like quite a mass of work like in Web3, Ethereum, or like near in this case around like intent protocols and like solvers, etc. And the question is like, how does this relate to 8004? So the reality is like right now this is outside 8004. So like the way you should think about like 8004, X402, these protocols is like essentially like ground zero, like agent zero, ground zero of like the agentic economy. So these are like very foundational protocols, and we need like more protocols on top that then can plug into these like very thin like registries. So like some around validation and TEs, intents, like specific like negotiation protocol for commerce is another one. So like I think what will happen over the next few months, and to some extent has already been happening, is like new like EIP or ERC will be proposed. Intents could be one of them. A lot of like off-chain infrastructure that allows you to like interact with the foundational protocols is also being built. And to be honest, like after we go mainnet in a few weeks, that will be the main focus of our community on the infra side. Because yeah, we need more agents, but we also need to make the platforms more usable. So this will be the focus of the next few months. So yeah, I'm excited about like your experience. I think you can bring a lot to our community. So please talk to us.
If I can add something, not everything needs to be a standard, right? So we also have on top of that just specific specs, and that's totally fine. I understand that the ERC are cool, but
off-chain tooling,
yes.
like some off-chain.
So Uniswap interface smart contract are not an ERC, and they're used by like a lot of people every minute. So that's fine.
Next year we'll be sitting here and you'll say, stop building reputation platforms, build a reputation mechanism.
Okay, that's a good final word. Thank you so much, Marco, Sumeet, Davide, and Quintus for enlightening us. And yeah, big applause.
Thanks everyone.
So much. Thanks.